special edition of Flock Talk, the official podcast of the Beloit Sky Carp. This is Josh Flickinger, and I'm joined by two very special guests and a not-so-special co-host remotely who chose not to be here. We'll get over that. I'm joined by Beloit Sky Carp first baseman Zach Zubia, and also Marlins first-round pick from last year, Jacob Berry. Guys, welcome to the show, and welcome to Beloit. Welcome back in your case, Zach.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks
Absolutely.
for having us.
So, Zach, it's been a little while, and you know what? Let's introduce Larry. Larry, where are you right now? Why are you not here? And welcome.
We'll just get it out of the way. I'm actually in Florida, so it's a bit of a role reversal, calling some hoops down in the Panhandle. So,
well, You're a man in need, a man of many talents, and I know our fans appreciate it. We'll miss you this weekend, but hey, it's only a couple months till you're back here at ABC Supply Stadium. April 7th, folks, is not only your season opener, but your home opener too, as we welcome in the Wisconsin Timber Rattlers. So, Zach, what were some of the feelings here as you got back into Beloit? You came rolling down from Milwaukee. You guys battling some traffic.
Yeah.
Maybe a little snow flurry. What are your thoughts coming back here to Beloit?
I mean, it's awesome. Coming from Texas this offseason, we don't get to experience much cold. So that's obviously a little shock to the body, obviously. But, it's nice. It's nice to experience something new, something different. I have a lot of great memories from last year. Met some great guys on the team, and, had great fans show up for the summer. And I'm just super excited to, come back here next year, play again, and support the city of Beloit.
Absolutely. Jacob, I got to ask, we've been talking for about 20 minutes here, but I haven't asked, I was saving it for the podcast. What are your first impressions of the place? Is it what you expected? Is it better? Don't say if it's worse, but...
It's very different of what I expected.
Okay.
I mean, I obviously went to LSU this last year, and the winters there are a little bit different, it seems like, than here right now. They're a little bit wet, a little bit wetter, and a little bit colder, but this isn't as bad as I thought. It kind of told Zach when we got off the airplane, I was like, it kind of feels like Colorado, and that's kind of where I was born and kind of where I have family from. So the cold, dry isn't as bad as I thought originally, but when kind of stepping out on the field, getting a little breeze, it's got a little kick to it. So it's a little different, but I'm really excited to kind of take my next step in kind of a process and hopefully play here and do well here.
yeah, I tell you what, guys, you should probably go outside, maybe play a little catch, take some swings, because last year on opening day it was 38 degrees and snowing. So get used to it.
Well, go ahead, Larry.
This is going to happen a lot, and I guess I can take the blame. But just overall, looking at your guys' off-season routines, how does that go? What do you guys do to stay warm?
Yeah, so, I mean, I spent most of the time in Arizona and Florida, and those are both warm climates. So I was in shorts and T-shirts most of my off-season, just kind of working out, just hitting, just kind of getting back into the routine I had in college and throughout high school, and obviously that I built this last year in Jupiter, and I think just kind of building upon that and getting back into shape and getting ready for spring training, because it's my first full year, and I'm looking forward to it. So I've just kind of been getting into a routine that works for me, and I'm excited to do it.
Yeah, and, going off of what Jacob said, I think that for myself, I, got to learn a lot last year, being my first full season. Playing 100 games is something different to the body you don't experience in college. And, both being college guys, I think that both of us know how to handle our routines, but, the body part is a little different, playing that extra 40 to 60 games depending on the schedule that you play. So for myself, taking what I learned from last season, putting that into my off-season training, trying to prepare my body for that lengthy season instead of, the 60-game season that we've been adapted to over the course of our lives. And then, learning from that and just getting ready for it. Getting to play 120 games was fun last year.
Larry touched on it a little bit, but you guys are, not necessarily acclimated to this. Zoobs, you joined us a little bit later, and of course you were in the midst of your college season. So, of course this won't happen at home. We've programmed it that all our home games will be 60 degrees and above. But when you go on the road in the Midwest League, you might encounter, some of those 30s and 40s. Have you guys ever played baseball in that kind of weather before?
Yeah, we talked about it on the car ride here. The cold that you experience in the South and in the south of wet and rainy, and that wet cold is it's different. It definitely hits different. It's not that brisk cold air. It's, kind of where your shirt's getting a little damp and, you're soaking and you're kind of just not miserable, but you're freezing.
Right.
Yeah.
And, I think that, we can get through that in the deep south of Texas, Louisiana, then, you can get used to the cold air burning your chest in the Midwest.
Sure.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we talked about it just like you said. And, I mean, playing in Louisiana, I played in a few games that were in the low 30s, kind of upper 20s that were just kind of cold. And it's really just a wet, windy kind of feeling that kind of gets under your skin a little bit. So, I mean, I'm sure this will be a different cold, but I'm sure we'll adapt to it as well.
And Jacob, this is a question that I've asked Zach before. Playing at a big school and a big conference, and maybe you two can squabble back and forth about it, but I'm going to go ahead and call the SEC the best baseball conference in the country rather than the Big 12. But how much did the SEC prepare you for pro ball?
Yeah, I mean, I played in two great conferences. I think people forget about the Pac-12 that I played in my freshman year. And, I mean, obviously the Big 12 is a great conference as well. I think all of those have kind of attributed to the player I've become and the player I'm going to continue to grow and to be. And I think I've just learned at every stage and every place that I've been at, there's something different and something that I can learn. I mean, playing the Team USA a couple summers ago, learned so much from guys from the ACC, other Pac-12 schools, SEC schools, and just learning how they play the game. And I think it's just kind of a good thing because there's not really one style of baseball. There's different styles of baseball, and learning all of them and knowing how to play all of them is a big thing nowadays with everything.
Absolutely. Zach, you mentioned you had some great memories from last year. Is there a game or a moment maybe that you remember most from your time as a Sky Carp?
I think coming here, whenever we were in the midst of a late playoff push, I wouldn't say it technically was one game per se, because, when we got here, every game mattered. Unfortunately, we weren't able to pull it off at the end, the comeback. But, every game that we played seemed like it mattered more and more and more. And that was awesome to feel that because, oopsie.
We'll continue.
But, yeah, I think that, being able to be a part of that late playoff push was important because, playing the game to win is important to me.
Yeah.
And that's something that I like to do. And I you grow up playing the game to win. And so I like to have that feeling of chasing something and, hopefully next year have that same feeling from game one to all the way, which I think we will.
Yeah.
It's a unique situation when you get called up mid-season, Zach, and a lot of guys go through it. But when you start the season with one group and then get called up to the next group, everything changes: location, league, talent level, but also, you mentioned it, that winning factor. How hard is it to adjust from one situation where you may not be in contention to another situation where you definitely are?
I think that comes with your routine. If you build your routine every single day to be successful, whether you're on a team that's doing hot or not doing too hot, then you don't have to change as a person. If you come in with the mindset of, trying to succeed and be the best person you can be that day, then you don't have to really worry about changing for anybody else because, that person that you're trying to be is the best for your team that day. So I think that's really important. It sometimes can get overlooked in the midst of becoming a better baseball player, but that routine that the Marlins talk about and that you get talked to as a kid and as a young college player, it's really important to not overlook that idea.
Jacob, Zach just talked about the transition. You had an even bigger transition from an amateur to a professional. You went through the draft process. I mean, that had to have been one of the more interesting years of your life. Did you, after the season was over in September, did you just kind of have to take a deep breath and be like, that was kind of a crazy whirlwind couple of months?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, going obviously into my last year at LSU, I was kind of just looking forward to just playing the year, kind of trying to hopefully get back to Omaha and maybe play for a national championship, and obviously didn't happen. But it seemed like as soon as I got done there, I packed up stuff and I was heading home. And then from there it was to an MLB combine in San Diego. And then it was right after getting drafted and then getting flown out. And it was just all happened so fast. It's like I blinked an eye and I was like, oh my goodness, I'm already finished with my college season. And I blinked my eye and oh my goodness, the draft's already happened. And then all of a sudden I'm done with my first season with the Marlins. And I was just like, I just couldn't believe how fast it went. And now I'm here and talking about this next year, my first full year. So it's just kind of crazy. I don't think I really had time to look back and like kind of reflect, to be honest with you. It was just like, oh my gosh, what do I need to do now to prepare for the next season and get my body healthy and my mind right and hopefully do well this year.
And with a situation like that, I don't think a lot of people know what happens after the draft. Obviously, your college season ends, you've got a little bit of time, and then the draft hits. It's now a little bit later in the year than it used to be. But take us through what happens when you get drafted and then shortly thereafterwards.
Yeah, so for my experience, I literally got done with the regional at Southern Miss in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. Came back, packed up my apartment, and then I drove across the country. It was about a 22-hour drive, and broke it up a little ways. And then I got home, and then I think about a week later, I was getting kind of shipped off to San Diego to do meetings at the MLB Combine. And then from there, I had a little bit of time, so I went home. Kind of enjoyed my siblings, which I hadn't been able to do for the last few years. I have 3 younger siblings, so it's kind of cool to get to follow them and work out and kind of just be around them for a few weeks. And from there, I literally got drafted, and then I think it was a day later, I get a phone call the next morning while the I think rounds, like the final rounds, the second day were kind of concluding, and they said, you're leaving tomorrow morning and you're going to Miami. And I was like, okay. And packed my stuff. Sure enough, me and my whole family loaded up, went to Miami, had all the great experience of the pro day and obviously all the medical stuff. And then from there, it was right up to Jupiter, start working out. And within a week, I was playing in the Florida Complex Leagues. And then right after that, I think a week, I got bumped up to low A, and then that's when Zach kind of got bumped up here as well. So it all came at me really quick. And I just had to slow it down and kind of find my rhythm again. And I think I did that after a few weeks. I think the first few weeks I was kind of in shock, just kind of getting back into it, having like a month off. But I was working out and hitting, but definitely it was nice to kind of get back into baseball mode. And I think this year I'm a little bit more prepared and I'm just kind of more experienced with it at least.
Now, Zach, not all of us are the 6th overall pick in the draft. It's a very select group that's in that. But was yours?
May I say, well deserving.
Absolutely,
very, very well deserving.
Absolutely, no question about it. Was your process very similar to that?
Yeah. So, 2021, obviously, get drafted. In the last round of the draft. So a little different. He and I actually were back-to-back picks if you really think about it. So if you really think about it, that's kind of cool. But I was actually, my family and I had taken a vacation to Vegas. In hopes if I got drafted, we would celebrate in Vegas. My dad was actually on business there, and so my whole family said, let's pack up so my dad could be there if I did get drafted. If I didn't, we had a little vacation to Vegas. But, I went, get drafted, and they said, hey, you're leaving for 2 days to Jupiter. And so, I flew home to Vegas, packed up my apartment in a night in Austin, and I was flying out to Jupiter the next morning at like 6 a.m. So, like you said, it's a crazy whirlwind. And pushed into games probably 2 or 3 weeks later, and like you said, it definitely shocks you whenever you're back into playing every single day, and you have to really catch your breath. And fortunately for him, he was able to. For myself, I didn't perform as well as I wanted to, but I learned a lot from that going into this past year about how it is to be mentally as physically, to how important it is to be mentally ready as physically ready as well. So, obviously you learn from your mistakes, you learn from your losses, and I think it helped me out a lot last year.
And with the adjustment to pro ball and maybe to different levels throughout the year, give me an idea of just how big the jump is from high major collegiate baseball pitching to low-level minor league baseball pitching? Because I know there's a big jump there.
I think from my experience, I think, the velo and pro ball definitely jumps up a tick. I would say that everyone throws harder. Because even in your high level
college,
D1 colleges, I think that you have your guys who throw the Friday, Saturday, Sunday game, and then 2 or 3 bullpen arms, and then if you could get into that 4th, 5th, or 6th bullpen arm,
you're doing really well. You can put some runs up.
You can get some
your stats a little bit.
The stats start coming up for sure. But whenever you're in pro ball, it just seems like dude after dude after dude start rolling out of the pen. I mean, if you watch a big league game now, it's like, everyone's 100 plus.
Everybody's a dude.
Yeah.
I think the biggest way I explained it to people was like just literally facing a Friday night pitcher every
single time.
And then it's facing everybody's best arm out of the pen. So it's just kind of, like you said, everybody's velo is up a little bit. It seems like they are a little bit more careful with the arms and obviously do a little bit better job than in college. So, I feel like they value everybody's rest and everything like that. So guys are really coming out full strength for their 4, 5, 6 innings, and then relief guys.
Relief innings.
Yeah,
and then a week.
Yeah, where college they might get that in a night, and then they're
out there the next night.
Yeah, back out there next day, and they're not the same guy the next day. Where here they're fresh every time, and definitely full strength. So it's definitely an adjustment.
We were talking before we pressed record on this, and I was kind of fascinated, Jacob. I want you to tell the fans a little bit about your family, and one thing we didn't touch on: where are the genes coming from? Is it mom? Is it dad? Is it both? Like what kind of background are they giving you guys? And then talk about your younger siblings who are certainly on a great path as well.
Yeah, well, thank you. I appreciate that. I'm the oldest of 4 siblings. I have 3 younger siblings, 2 sisters, and a younger brother. And the next one, she's a senior. She's actually committed to go to Stanford to play softball. The next one, she's a junior. She's a pitcher, and she has a few offers right now on the table. She hasn't decided. And then my younger brother actually has a couple offers for baseball. So they're all very gifted. He is 15 years old. So this is his freshman year of high school. He's never played in a game. So it's kind of crazy to me how the heck he has an offer and he's never played in a high school varsity game. It just seems like they get younger and younger each year. But I was very gifted from both my parents. My dad played minor league baseball with the Astros. And then my mom played a little bit of Division II basketball when she was in college. So, I was gifted. Obviously not as tall as Zach, but I worked out in some ways.
Speaking of that, one of my favorite stories from this past year is I'm on the field and Dax is playing catch. I'm just casually talking to him. I said, Dax, you're a tall guy. Did you ever play basketball? And he says, I did. Growing up, I played. But then I got a full ride scholarship from Oklahoma when I was in 8th grade for baseball. So I just decided I wasn't going to risk it. I'm like, yeah, but good decision, Dax.
Yeah, it's
good decision.
Really good decision.
It's worked out pretty well for Dax.
I can't help but ask Zach. I know Matt Mitchie's going to love this question, our producer. I think you had our favorite walk-up song last season, Tops Drop by Fat Pat. I had never heard that song in my life until you walked to the plate for the first time at ABC Supply Stadium. How'd you find that song? And then for Jacob, what's your walk-up song?
So it's kind of funny, I guess, but I'm actually really big into the UFC. I love watching the UFC. And so 2 weeks before spring training last year, I was really lucky to go to the UFC fight in Houston, and thank you to my girlfriend for getting those tickets. But I was at the fight, and there's a guy in Houston. His name's Derek Lewis. They call him the Black Beast. He's a Houston legend. Everyone loves him, and he walked out to that song at the UFC fight, and it got me so fired up. I was out of my seat, like I was ready to go in the ring. And then I saw the other guy walk in the ring. I said, I don't want to go in the ring. But, I heard that song and it just kind of made the hair on the back of my neck stand up a little bit, just, being in that moment. And So, for y'all like it. I know I got a lot of compliments on it here and in Jupiter. But, for me, it gets me almost fired up a little bit. And, I'm sitting here thinking about it now, and it's getting me a little fired up.
And you're sticking with it for 2023.
I mean, I might as well. I mean, it had some good juju last year, knock on some wood. Sorry, poopsie. I think I like it. It gets me fired up. It gets me ready to roll.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I mean, my walk-up song's not near as interesting as that for sure, but I mean, to be honest with you, in Jupiter, I didn't even know you could pick your walk-up song until the last week. So I was playing some hip-hop song, and I had no idea you could change it until somebody had changed theirs, and I was like, hey, how'd you get that? And they're like, you can tell them what you want, right? And I was like, no, I didn't know that. So in college, I always had just something simple, like a country song. I had Caught Up in the Country, and then No Place Like Hometown by Hardy. So, I mean, very, very simple. I mean, we'll see what the year has in store, but I'm sure it'll be something along those lines again, though.
Well, guys, we really appreciate you joining us here for Flock Talk. Larry, for remoting in and taking some time out of your Florida vacation or work trip, however you want to phrase it is fine. But thanks again, guys, and we appreciate having you, Beloit. We look forward to the 2023 season.
Thanks, Luke.
Thank you
Larry,
for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you
Good
guys.
to see you, fellas.